Hello and welcome. A successful leader may guide their teams to a high level of performance over a period of weeks, months, or even years. Then one day, the leader finds that something has changed. The same leadership skills and approaches no longer deliver good results. In changing times, we can't always rely on what's worked in the past. Instead, we must become skilled at adapting our style or approach to fit the situation. Adaptive leadership recognizes the importance of traditional leadership skills, practices, and styles such as direction setting, instruction, and delegation. However, it expands on these and seeks to apply each style in the appropriate situation. There are 5 steps we can follow for getting started with adaptive leadership. The first step is to study and become familiar with what's included in adaptive leadership. We may call them by different names, but the 4 foundational styles of leadership are directive, supportive, coaching, and delegating. It's important to note that these are categories that describe 4 approaches, not just 4 styles. In fact, within each of these foundational styles, there are multiple leadership practices we can master. The second step is to reflect on our own experience. It's very likely that we recognize some or all of these leadership styles. Perhaps we've experienced them in our interactions with our boss, or perhaps we're already practicing one or more of them. However, we may also recall an experience when a particular leader's style or approach felt wrong for us or didn't work in a specific situation. That's why the third step is to identify situations when each style is appropriate. Adaptive leadership means recognizing what style the situation, team, or individual calls for, and being flexible to make the adjustment. Even in identical professional situations, the type of direction or support one person needs from the leader may be different from what another person needs. We must learn the general guidelines for when each style is appropriate and reflect on how these apply to our own people, culture, and situations. The fourth step continues this reflection by developing awareness of our own preferences, biases, and tendencies. It's common for each person to have a default leadership style that they feel most comfortable with. Perhaps it's a style that's easiest for us, has given us the best results in the past, or makes us feel the most powerful. Whatever the case may be, it's important for leaders to conduct a frank self-assessment. This can be difficult because we're often blind to our own weaknesses or can't evaluate our leadership style objectively. For example, we may perceive our style as directive, detail-oriented, or decisive. However, some subordinates in some situations may experience it as micromanaging. That's why it's essential to ask for external input from a trusted colleague, mentor, or coach when evaluating our leadership style. This brings us to step 5, which is to practice. Breaking old habits and forming new ones is difficult even in the most ideal situations. This can be especially true when we're learning new leadership styles while being faced with challenging people or situations. That's why it's very helpful to have scripts and practice patterns to follow when learning new leadership styles. Although it may feel awkward or unnatural at first, practice patterns allow us to follow proven steps, use repetition to build skill, and help people recognize when we're employing a specific leadership style. As we follow these 5 steps to learn about adaptive leadership and practice its various approaches, it's important to keep our eyes open for 3 common pitfalls. The first pitfall is what we call the hammer looking for the nail. Just as this common expression suggests, when we practice one leadership style well, it's easy to think we can use it in every situation. If the right opportunity to use a specific leadership style doesn't present itself, it's best not to force it for the sake of practice. Instead, a good practice option is to use role-playing to simulate situations when a specific leadership style is appropriate. As we practice adaptive leadership, a leader may switch from one style to another as the situation requires. It's also normal for a leader to use a mix of styles throughout the day. However, this can be confusing to team members, subordinates, and the people around us if we're directive one minute and supportive the next. It's important for leaders to be clear whether they're delegating, coaching, supporting, or directing. For example, employees should be easily able to recognize the difference between a leader giving instruction, making an encouraging suggestion, or delegating a task to them. Finally, when getting started, it's important to have a clear purpose for why we're making adaptive leadership part of our management toolkit. Is your boss delegating the job of learning adaptive leadership so you can teach it to the group? Are we being directed or told to be more adaptive and flexible? Perhaps we're being coached to improve the way we handle specific people or situations. By understanding our purpose, we'll experience more success with adaptive leadership. That wraps up our review of getting started with adaptive leadership. We'll see you soon.